Welcome, Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au with another month for you, Aries, the month of February 2018. Take a look at this chart and you'll notice here on February 1 this series of red lines here. These are what we call the hard aspects. It's actually a continuation of the lunar eclipse that has taken place on 31st of January, and it occurs across your 5th and 11th house. 5th house is the house of love affairs, creativity. 11th house, the house of one's desires. And it looks like with all these planets here, there's quite a few desires that you've got right now. Mercury, Venus, and of course the Sun and the node and the Moon and the node. Whenever the luminaries are on this what we call the nodal axis, then an eclipse takes place. Let's get this animation going so we can just start to see how it's working for you. See the moon moving along here. This 11th house is a very sociable house, so therefore you do have a strong social instinct during this phase of your life. And the eclipse here does open up a whole lot of emotional, creative, and believe it or not, spiritual elements. The 5th house is not a well-known spiritual house, neither with lay people or astrologers themselves. But the 5th house, like the 9th house, and also the 4th, 8th, and 12th houses, all of these, believe it or not, depending on what level you're looking at, have a lot to say about your spirituality and whether or not you are able to, bring that to the surface and into the activities of your life. So we see here we could take a look at the movement of the moon every couple of days, but I'm more interested in some of these larger long-term effects, such as your ruling planet. That's a very important one, and we see that moving through this 9th house of your horoscope, which has everything to do with higher education. Again, it's a spiritual house, learning new things. It's got cultural connotations as well, being the house of foreign travel, foreign affairs. So therefore there are some strong hints that, at least for some of you, the movement of Mars through this 9th house during February will give rise to an interest in those sorts of things. And coupled with this very powerful eclipse, strong social planets here governing this area, then it's likely you'll venture forth and want to connect with people of different cultures, different ideas, different religious persuasions. And so it really is a period for you to, expand your mind, expand your understanding. We see up here in your career sector, we talked about this last month, in January, the slow movement of Saturn and its imminent connection. Not yet, but very, very shortly, the influence will start for you. Now, what is this? This is a combination of Saturn, which is the conservative career planet for you, ruling Capricorn, this 10th area of your horoscope. Excuse me, I'll just turn this off for a moment and make myself unavailable just for you. The career planet here, conservative planet, coming into contact shortly with Pluto. Now, on a global level, you can see what's happening to Bitcoin, the blockchain technology, the fear that must be swelling in the banking community. And I said many, many years ago, the transit of Pluto, only just over, it's almost 2/3 of the way through, but that will retrograde back and forward, that this is going to have a marked influence on money, banking, financial institutions, and indeed the way we work for our money and the way we look at finances. There's even now talk about a universal wage that's going to hit us. Well, we all hope, because then we look forward to getting some money for nothing. But that will absolutely shift the whole procedure of work, income, the value of money. Now for you, let's come back from the global level to a more personal level. It's said that when these two planets come together, there's what's called force majeure. In other words, these are forces that are out of your control in your professional life. These areas here in your horoscope are still under your control. You've got the personal planets, Mercury, the Sun and Venus to some extent, bringing really great energy to this area of the horoscope. The Sun is definitely a friendly planet, but this area here, these are not so friendly planets. Saturn particularly is a troublemaker for you. And so the force majeure may have more to do with what's happening there in terms of your professional activities. I'm going to move this forward a little bit by a day so we can see quickly. Now there we have, I just wanted to show you this moon moving into this area so we can get a bit more of a fix on the date, but on around the 10th of February you've got this Moon-Mars combination. Moon rules your 4th house, Mars is your ruling planet. So when these two planets are together, especially for you, it has a lot to do with your family life, your domestic sphere, your impulsive nature, your irascible temperament. And so that's a day to watch for. But more importantly, this movement of the moon around the 12th into the conjunction of Saturn. This is when you'll start to see some activity in your professional life, or you might have some intuitive stirrings as to what's going on, some changes taking place in your professional arena, that sort of thing. I want to talk to you about relationships, of course. See, on that same date, Venus, planet of love and marriage, for you in particular, has moved into the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is a good position for Venus, being ruled by Pisces, but there it moves closer and closer to that conjunction with Neptune around the 18th, 19th. So this can show some confusion, excessive idealism over your relationship, false hopes, that sort of thing. And have a look here. You do have that very powerful square from Mars, your ruling planet. And just a couple of more days there, I think you'll start to see just around this time it's even more intense, more precise. And you have that Venus almost perfect conjunction to the Neptune, and then moving into that almost perfect square there, and it does that on the 26th of February. Now, that's a lot of passion. And again, let me come back to this. See how all of these planets have now moved into your 12th house after the second half of the month. Third week of the month, you've got all of this 9th house, 12th house stuff. That's the journeying I'm talking about. So this is really a time, a low-key time. It could be that you're not feeling so good about your work, but even your relationships at this time may be in more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A hibernation period. 12th house is sort of like hibernation, where you want to take some time out and look after your own interests. So that's not particularly great for love. It's great for sex. There are some scriptures and ancient astrologers that say Venus in the 12th is great for that. So you can see that a lot of deep thinking will be taking place at that time. It's a short month. It finishes on the 28th. And next month we're going to be looking at when the really big events in your work are likely to take place with this transit of Mars. It should be next month. I hope you'll join me in March to look at that, because there's some interesting progress for you. Even if it's out of your control, the beauty of astrology is that you can take back a little bit of that control, empower yourself, and take control of things. In the meantime, take a look also at your monthly report at astrology.com.au, and see you here same time, same channel. Bye-bye.